The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman. Welcome to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. You can also listen live on joynetradio.com. And don't forget to download us or like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. You can also catch us live on Facebook. We always upload the show there. And if you're just tooling around the country and you just need something to listen to, you can get Spotify and anywhere you go on your favorite podcast platform. Just search for Black Focus Radio. Okay? So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I got a great black fact for you about Lincoln. Some of y'all need to know this. Because, one of the topics that we're going to talk about today is the Republicans. And they always like to try to throw Lincoln out there as, he freed the slaves, so you ought to be a Republican. Yeah. Listen to what I've got coming up for you later on. Okay, you're going to enjoy this black fact. Speaking of which, Donald Trump was at the Black Conservatives Federation or whatever they calling themselves. We're going to play a few comments from that as well. It was pretty disgusting. Okay, pretty disgusting. So we're definitely going to play some of that. Also, we got to talk about, they're still killing us. We'll probably say that for what we must do because they are still killing us. I'll tell you about the two cops who shot into a police car where a handcuffed man was because an acorn fell out of a tree and hit the top of the car. I'm not kidding. And Ebony Ponce. If you have not heard this story, Lord have mercy. There's something wrong with policing in America. And if we get an opportunity, we'll talk about Wayne LaPierre, and we'll also talk a little bit about the NRA and how they've got about to cough up a little money. And, of course, we can't forget about the IVF ruling in Alabama. It's so much to talk about, so much to get into. And if we get a chance, we'll talk about whether or not I believe that MAGA is really afraid of Kamala Harris. I do. All of that and more. But right now, before we do anything, we have to christen the show and do black facts. So let's do that right now.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
Abraham Lincoln, who was the President of the United States from 1861 to 1865, no doubt has his name in the history books for his crucial role in ending slavery in the country. The story goes that Lincoln stepped into the presidency at a time when the storm clouds of conflict were gathering. The United States was torn between North and South, with the deep chasm of slavery at its core. The Southern states clung to the institution of slavery, upon which their economies and ways of life were built. The North, however, increasingly saw slavery as a moral wrong that needed to be abolished. This fundamental disagreement sparked the flames of the Civil War. In the midst of this tumultuous period, Lincoln, with his tall, lanky frame and a face marked by the burdens of leadership, saw an opportunity to change the course of history. On the first day of January 1863, in the war's grim shadow, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This historic document didn't immediately free all slaves, but declared that slaves in the Confederate States were to be set free. It was a beacon of hope, a promise of a better future, but its light could only reach so far. The proclamation applied only to territories still in rebellion, places beyond Lincoln's immediate control. Yet, this act was a masterstroke. It transformed the Civil War from a battle over union to a profound struggle for freedom. Black men, once bound by chains, now took up arms to fight for the Union, their freedom, and the freedom of their brethren still in bondage. They fought bravely, believing in the cause and in the promise of a nation where all men could truly be free. The war raged on, and with each Union victory, the Emancipation Proclamation freed more slaves. The march towards freedom was slow and fraught with hardship, but it was unrelenting. Then, in the twilight of the war and Lincoln's own life, a new dawn broke. The 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution was passed, abolishing slavery forever. Today, Abraham Lincoln is remembered as the president who took bold steps to end slavery and ensure freedom for all slaves in America. While the act was right by all means, the truth behind it is shocking. Lincoln didn't free black slaves because he believed they deserved to be free, or because he believed they were equal to whites. In fact, Lincoln didn't free black slaves because he believed in black freedom. The shocking revelations in this video go to prove that history can sometimes not reveal the whole truth. Did Abraham Lincoln truly care about black people, or did he see them as a means to an end? Were they just pawns in his war to keep the United States from falling apart? Welcome to Black Journals, where you can discover true black history and black narratives. Also, as a way of supporting the channel, hit the like button of the video, share, and subscribe to help the channel grow. Your support means a lot to us. Number 1. Lincoln wasn't an abolitionist. Abraham Lincoln, while often celebrated as the great emancipator, did not initially align himself with the radical stance of abolitionists during his time. He never believed that abolishing slavery was the right thing to do until the Civil War. Despite his personal belief that slavery was inherently wrong, Lincoln navigated the treacherous waters of a nation deeply divided by the issue with caution and, some might argue, a frustrating lack of urgency. This careful approach was largely because the very foundation of the United States, the Constitution, protected the institution of slavery through several clauses, despite not naming it directly. These included the Fugitive Slave Clause and the 3/5 Clause, both of which served to entrench the practice of slavery in the political and economic fabric of the country. In an era where abolitionists, led by figures like William Lloyd Garrison, were calling for immediate emancipation and equal rights for freed slaves, Lincoln's reluctance to outright challenge the Constitution's concessions to slavery placed him in a morally ambiguous position. Garrison's dramatic condemnation of the Constitution as a covenant with death and an agreement with hell, highlighted by his act of burning the document, starkly contrasted with Lincoln's more measured, legalistic opposition to slavery. Lincoln's famous speech in Peoria, Illinois, in 1854, did articulate his opposition to slavery on moral, legal, and economic grounds. Yet, his admission of uncertainty about how to address the issue within the existing political framework underscored a perceived lack of resolve. This cautious approach frustrated many abolitionists who saw any compromise on the issue of slavery as complicity in a deeply immoral system. It wasn't until the Civil War, with the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation and his support for the 13th Amendment, that Lincoln took decisive steps to end slavery. However, this shift was as much a strategic war measure as it was a moral stance, aimed at weakening the Confederacy and preserving the Union. Number 2. Lincoln didn't believe black people should have the same rights as white people. This might sound strange since the same man gave freedom to black people, making them just as equal as whites. However, there are many aspects to freedom. While someone might no longer be a slave, they could be excluded from equal social and political rights, hindering their chances at a good life. Initially, Lincoln's perspectives on racial equality were far from progressive, especially by today's standards. His views became clear during an 1858 series of debates with his opponent in the Illinois race for U.S. Senate, Stephen Douglas, who had accused him of supporting Negro equality. In their fourth debate at Charleston, Illinois, on September 18, 1858, Lincoln made his position clear. "I will say then that I am not, nor ever have been, in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races," he began, going on to say that he opposed black people having the right to vote, to serve on juries, to hold office, and to intermarry with whites. What he did believe was that, like all men, black men had the right to improve their condition in society and to enjoy the fruits of their labor. In this way, they were equal to white men, and for this reason, slavery was inherently unjust. Lincoln's position was a reflection of the times, deeply influenced by the prevalent societal norms and attitudes toward race. His primary objective was to preserve the Union, and his views on slavery and racial equality were secondary, often adapted to suit this goal. In the mid-19th century, America was a deeply divided nation, not just geographically between North and South, but morally and ideologically when it came to the issue of slavery and the status of black Americans, both free and enslaved. Lincoln's cautious approach to emancipation and racial equality was, in part, a strategic attempt to maintain support from a broad coalition of Northerners, including those who were not in favor of abolition or equal rights for African Americans. This political balancing act required him to navigate a delicate line, advocating for the end of slavery while not endorsing full equality for African Americans. However, it's crucial to note that Lincoln's views were not static and showed signs of evolution over time, particularly during his presidency. The Civil War, fundamentally a conflict over the fate of slavery in America, forced Lincoln to confront the moral and ethical dimensions of slavery directly. By the end of his life, in the shadow of a war that had transformed the nation, Lincoln began to advocate for limited suffrage for black men, particularly for those who had served in the Union Army. This was a significant departure from his earlier stance and indicated a shift toward recognizing the rights and contributions of African Americans. Number 3. Emancipation was a military policy. The Civil War, at its core, was indeed a battle over the future of slavery in the United States, a moral and ethical quagmire that tore at the fabric of the nation. President Abraham Lincoln, a figure often enshrined in the glow of emancipation and the abolition of slavery, navigated these turbulent waters with a pragmatism that, while strategically sound, casts a long shadow over the legacy of his administration. The path to emancipation was neither straightforward nor imbued with the purity of intent that popular history often ascribes to it. As the war progressed into its second grueling year in 1862, the issue of slavery became impossible to ignore, not just as a moral failing of a nation, but as a tactical element within the larger strategy of war. Thousands of enslaved people, seizing upon the chaos of conflict, fled their captors' plantations, seeking refuge with Union forces. Their flight laid bare the strategic folly of the Union's lack of policy regarding these escapees. They were, after all, assets to the Confederacy, both economically and logistically. Lincoln's realization that emancipation could serve as a weapon against the Confederacy reveals a stark truth. The liberation of enslaved people was considered within the context of military advantage rather than purely on the basis of human rights and dignity. When Lincoln presented his preliminary draft of the Emancipation Proclamation to his cabinet in July 1862, it was not met with unanimous enthusiasm. Secretary of State William Seward's caution to wait for a Union victory before announcing the proclamation underscores a cynical manipulation of timing, suggesting that the moral imperative of emancipation was secondary to its perceived impact on public relations and international perception. The implication is clear. Emancipation was a card to be played at the most opportune moment, not a principle to be upheld irrespective of political and military calculations. The Battle of Antietam, a bloody and brutal engagement, provided the veneer of victory Lincoln needed to proceed. The issuance of the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation following this battle was a calculated move, leveraging the slight shift in momentum to frame the proclamation as a position of strength rather than desperation. Yet, the reality remains that this strategic decision was made against the backdrop of immense suffering, both on the battlefield and within the plantation system that the war sought to preserve or dismantle. Lincoln's address to the crowd from the White House balcony, placing his trust in God and the judgment of the country and the world, paints the picture of a leader burdened with an immense decision. However, this solemn moment also serves to obscure the underlying calculations and compromises that marked the road to emancipation. It was a decision shaped by military necessity, political pragmatism, and the desire to maintain the Union at all costs, even if it meant delaying justice for the enslaved until it was deemed strategically advantageous. The path to emancipation, then, is marred by the harsh realities of war and the complexities of political leadership in a divided nation. While the Emancipation Proclamation stands as a landmark achievement in the fight against slavery, the journey to that point reveals a web of motives, calculations, and concessions that challenge the narrative of a purely noble quest for freedom. In this light, the proclamation is a document born out of war's exigencies, a tool wielded in the service of union and victory as much as, if not more than, in the service of liberty and justice. Number 4. The Emancipation Proclamation didn't actually free all enslaved people. The Emancipation Proclamation, a significant document in American history, is often celebrated for freeing the slaves. However, the truth is not as straightforward or as noble as many believe. President Abraham Lincoln, often hailed as the great emancipator, issued this proclamation during the Civil War, not out of a pure moral conviction to end slavery, but as a strategic move in a desperate time. First and foremost, the Emancipation Proclamation did not, in fact, free all enslaved people. Its reach was limited and calculated. Lincoln used it as a military strategy, aiming to weaken the Confederate States by targeting their economy, which heavily relied on slave labor. However, the proclamation conveniently excluded the border states of Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, and Missouri. These states, though slaveholding, remained loyal to the Union, and Lincoln feared pushing them into the arms of the Confederacy. Missouri presented a unique case with dual governments, one Unionist and one Confederate. But even here, the proclamation's reach was nullified by exemptions. Furthermore, the proclamation exempted certain areas of the Confederacy that had already fallen under Union control. This exemption was a calculated move by Lincoln to win over the loyalty of white people in these areas, effectively placing military and political strategy over the moral imperative of ending slavery. Thus, in the places where the proclamation could have made a real impact, it was rendered impotent by these exemptions. The irony is palpable. The document, heralded as a beacon of freedom, had no immediate effect on the lives of the very people it purported to liberate. The bitter truth is that the Emancipation Proclamation, in its immediate aftermath, did not free a single enslaved person. Its authority extended only to the Confederate States actively fighting against the Union, territories where the U.S. government had no control at the time. This fact lays bare the hypocrisy of the proclamation, showcasing it as a gesture that was more symbolic than substantive, a tool of war rather than a genuine effort to eradicate the abomination of slavery. Despite its glaring limitations and the strategic motivations behind its issuance, the Emancipation Proclamation is often credited with marking a turning point in the Civil War and in Lincoln's own views on slavery. Indeed, it paved the way for the enlistment of approximately 200,000 black men in the Union Army and Navy, contributing significantly to the Union's victory and the eventual abolition of slavery with the 13th Amendment. However, this outcome does not erase the proclamation's initial inadequacies and the calculated political maneuvering that characterized its inception. The proclamation's legacy is a complex one, embodying both a step toward freedom and a testament to the compromises and contradictions of wartime leadership. It reminds us that the path to justice and equality is often fraught with hypocrisy and half-measures, highlighting the importance of scrutinizing the motives behind even the most celebrated acts of liberation. In essence, the Emancipation Proclamation serves as a stark reminder that in the pursuit of freedom and justice, intentions matter just as much as actions, and that true liberation cannot be achieved through strategic exemptions and political calculus. Number 5. Lincoln thought colonization could resolve the issue of slavery. The idea that Abraham Lincoln, one of the most celebrated figures in American history, once seriously considered colonization as a solution to the problem of slavery is a stark reminder of the complexities and contradictions that define human beings, especially those in positions of power. Lincoln, often idolized for his role in emancipating slaves, harbored views that, when examined closely, reveal a disturbing willingness to entertain solutions that would today be considered egregiously unjust and racist. Colonization, the concept of relocating African Americans to places like Africa or Central America, was not unique to Lincoln. It was a widely discussed idea among many who, while uncomfortable with the institution of slavery, could not envision a society where black and white people coexisted as equals. This perspective was deeply flawed and reflected the pervasive racism of the time. It is unsettling to think that leaders like Lincoln, who are often portrayed as forward-thinking and morally upright, could hold such views. Lincoln's advocacy for colonization, starting in the early 1850s, underscores a harsh truth. His opposition to slavery was not necessarily rooted in a belief in racial equality. By suggesting that freed slaves be sent to Liberia, Lincoln was essentially arguing for a solution that would remove African Americans from the United States rather than integrating them into society as equals. This stance is contradictory to the principles of equality and justice and reflects a profound failure to recognize African Americans as rightful citizens of their own country. On the night of December 31, 1862, a day before he issued the final Emancipation Proclamation to effectively end slavery in America, President Abraham Lincoln signed a contract with Bernard Koch, an entrepreneur and Florida cotton planter. Their agreement, to use federal funds to relocate 5,000 formerly enslaved people from the United States to Île Vache, Cow Island, a small 20-square-mile island off the southwestern coast of Haiti. Since the early 1850s, Lincoln had been advancing colonization as a remedy for the gradual emancipation of the nations enslaved. While he strongly opposed the institution of slavery, he didn't believe in racial equality or that people of different races could successfully integrate. And unleashing nearly 4 million black people into white American society, north or south, was a political non-starter. So despite the fact that most black Americans in the 1850s had been born on U.S. soil, Lincoln advocated shipping them to Central America, the Caribbean, or back to Africa. If, as the Friends of Colonization hope, we succeed in freeing our land from the dangerous presence of slavery, and at the same time, in restoring a captive people to their long-lost fatherland, Lincoln said during his eulogy for statesman Henry Clay in 1852, "It will indeed be a glorious consummation." Nearly a month before he signed the contract with Koch, during his second annual message to Congress, Lincoln had proposed a constitutional amendment to colonize African Americans outside the United States. The amendment included federal compensation for slave owners who lost their human property due to emancipation. Looking for proof of concept, Lincoln settled on Koch's Ile la Vache proposal after serious consideration of another colonization plan that would have sent freed Black Americans to the Chiriquí province of Panama. In Koch's plan, the former slaves would work on a cotton plantation. Each family would receive homes and access to hospitals and schools. And after the end of their 4-year work contracts, they would be given 16 acres of land and the wages they had earned over that period. Colonization was voluntary for former slaves, but deeply encouraged by Lincoln, Koch, and its many other proponents. The colonization movement was never popular with most African Americans and abolitionists. "Shame upon the guilty wretches that dare propose, and all that countenance such a proposition," wrote Frederick Douglass, the famed abolitionist orator and publisher, in his newspaper The North Star in 1849. "We live here, have lived here, have a right to live here, and mean to live here." On August 14, 1862, Lincoln met at the White House delegation of Black leaders to make his case for the voluntary emigration of African Americans to countries outside the U.S. "Your race suffer from living among us, while ours suffer from your presence. It is better for us both, therefore, to be separated," Lincoln told the delegation. Douglass, who wasn't invited and who read about the meeting in a newspaper, wrote in his Douglass Monthly that the proposal reminds one of the politeness with which a man might try to bow out of his house some troublesome creditor or the witness of some old guilt. Lincoln was undeterred by these complaints from Douglass and other African American leaders. On April 14, 1863, the vessel Ocean Ranger departed from Fortress Monroe, Virginia, with 453 hopeful African American emigrants aboard, headed to Ile la Vache. The mission proved an unmitigated failure from the start, according to Graham Welch, an historian and attorney. By the time the Ocean Ranger reached Ile la Vache in early May, at least 30 of its Black passengers had died from smallpox. A second ship, which was supposed to follow the Ocean Ranger with building and living supplies, never set sail. Koch, the self-appointed superintendent of the island, had misled the government and the Black settlers about the living conditions. On a visit to the island, a government official found the African American settlers with tears, misery, and sorrow pictured in every countenance. Instead of the homes they were promised, the families slept on the ground in small huts made of palmetto and brush. Koch offered wages in a self-printed currency, which workers were obliged to spend on exorbitantly priced food and goods in a kind of company shop. There was also a no work, no rations policy. When the emigrant workers threatened revolt, Koch fled. By the summer of 1863, news of the inhumane conditions in Ile la Vache reached Lincoln, who confided in Union Army chaplain John Eaton that the Negroes in the Cow Island settlement on the coast of Haiti were suffering intensely from a pest of jiggers, from which there seemed to be no escape or protection. On February 1, 1864, the President ordered his Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, to commission a naval vessel to rescue the Ile la Vache group. A month later, the Navy's Marcia C. Day carried the 350 surviving emigrants back to America, arriving in Alexandria, Virginia on March 20th. Also in March, Lincoln signed a bill withdrawing the $600,000 appropriated for colonization, of which the administration had spent only about $38,000. According to Welch, Lincoln's signing of the bill signaled that he was finally abandoning colonization as a viable option for those freed from slavery. Following his reversal of the Ile la Vache venture, Lincoln not only remained silent on the failed Haitian colony, but also never issued another public statement concerning colonization, Welch wrote. Instead, Lincoln began exploring ways to integrate those he had freed into a post-emancipation society. While Île Vache was a disastrous failure that led to the deaths of many African Americans, the end of colonization as government policy, with the affair Hart and many African Americans who had opposed immigrating to another country. The backlash from black leaders and abolitionists against Lincoln's colonization plans was justified and necessary. Their anger and opposition highlighted the hypocrisy of a nation that claimed to value freedom and equality, while simultaneously contemplating the mass expulsion of its black population. The fact that Lincoln eventually dropped public mention of colonization after the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation does not erase the discomforting reality that such ideas were considered at all. It raises questions about the nature of Lincoln's legacy and the true motivations behind his policies. In wrapping up our examination of Abraham Lincoln's perspectives on race and his support for the colonization of African Americans, it's crucial to confront the uncomfortable nuances of his legacy. While Lincoln is lauded for issuing the Emancipation Proclamation and thereby playing a pivotal role in the abolition of slavery, the motivations behind his actions and his beliefs about racial equality reveal a more complex and less flattering image. Our exploration has uncovered that Lincoln harbored racist ideas, believing African Americans were inferior to whites, and entertaining the notion that they should be colonized outside the United States. As we reflect on Lincoln's place in history, it's essential to acknowledge these uncomfortable truths. While he remains a pivotal figure in the American narrative for his role in ending slavery, we must also recognize the limitations of his views on race and equality. The journey towards racial justice is fraught with contradictions, and Lincoln's story is no exception. He was a man of his time, shaped by the prevailing attitudes and beliefs of his era, which included deeply ingrained racism. This brings us to the end of this video.
Keep listening to Black Focus Radio for more dynamic Black facts, our culture, our history, our people on joynetradio.com.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that. A lot of people like to talk about the Abraham Lincoln and particularly black conservatives, and even some of these white conservatives and MAGA people talking about, well, black people ought to be Republicans because they freed the slaves. Yeah, when you find out what Nixon really thought about, not Nixon, well, basically one and the same, but when you find out what Lincoln really thought about black people, and that argument really doesn't hold water. That's part of the reason that you really need to pay attention to history. So hope you enjoyed that. We'll talk about that a little bit more after the break, because we're going to get into this Donald Trump thing, because it was, and I'll say it again, it was an abomination. And I'll give you the response of the black conservatives and what they're saying about it. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. All right, we'll take a break. You're listening to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at joynetradio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to joynetradio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation, then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word about joynetradio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event, or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at joynetradio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on joynetradio.com. David W. Coleman here for Coleman's Dynamic Rib Rub and Rib Nuts. Go to ribrub.com, that's RIBBRUBB.com right now, and stock up on the best dry marinades for baking, grilling, and smoking your favorite meats. 3 great flavors, hot and spicy, original, and scorching. Try them at your next cookout and you'll shout, bake it, grill it, shake it, oh yeah! Only one place to get Coleman's Dynamic products, that's ribrub.com. easy to order, and I'll ship direct to you or to friends and family anywhere in the United States. While on the site, be sure to check out other great items, especially the rib nuts. Who'd have thunk it? Peanuts sauteed in a barbecue marinade? That's just crazy good. Get them at ribrub.com right now, along with other great recipes. That's ribrub.com. If you don't like my rib rub or rib nuts, I'll give you money back. Do it today. That's Coleman's Dynamic Products at ribrub.com.
Listen.
Did you miss Dr. Ernest Gill from UT San Antonio?
When you're making $455 million off these student athletes and all you can come up with is $5,000, John Calipari makes $8 million a year, and his players are going to get $5,000 a year. The majority of these teams were white men and white males and females. Would this be happening? And I would say no, because their families wouldn't let it happen. But we're letting our kids get pimped.
Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on joinetradio.com.
All right, welcome back to the show, Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. I got to start the show off with Donald J. Trump. And more importantly, I got to talk about the black conservatives. If you have not heard the comments, I'm going to play some of them for you here in just a moment. As you know, Donald Trump is running for president of the United States again. Many people believe that it would be disastrous for the country, and particularly black people, if in fact he won. I don't understand. You know, this reminds me of the childhood story. Was it by Hans Christian Andersen, the Pied Piper? Let me see here, because I know they probably don't talk about that story, but there used to be a story that the Pied Piper of Hamelin, that was the name of it, and it was written by, let's see here, it's an old book. Wilhelm and Jacob Graham. It was published in 1842. Now, if you don't know this story, it's about a town that was overrun by rats. And the people tried to do everything they could to get rid of these rats. So, and I'm paraphrasing because I remember the story years ago, but basically this guy comes in and he plays this flute. And the rats would dance to the flute, and they realized that if they would dance to the flute, maybe they could get him to lead them out of town. And sure enough, the moral of the story was that the Pied Piper played the flute, the rats, and he walked out of town, and they were over their rat infestation. Now, I purposely use that analogy because there are some rats, and Donald Trump is that Pied Piper. And I don't quite understand the, what can you call it, the sway, the hypnotism that he's put upon people. I don't understand it. This is the most perplexing thing that I've ever seen. And because if most people tell you that I don't want you to lie to me. Okay? Most people tell you that I don't particularly care for you because you're a criminal. So how can this man possibly be running for president, and potentially some people predicting that he may win, which is going to be dangerous for this country? He's already told you that he's going to use all of the agencies that he can to get back his personal agendas on people. But I want to focus mainly on our community, because over the weekend he was at the Black Conservative Convention or Black Conservative Foundation, whatever they call themselves. I'd like to know what a black conservative is, most importantly. Can you tell me? Do they want smaller government? Do they want I mean, I don't know what they want. And if you are a black conservative, are you only loyal to conservatism? And where does your loyalty begin when it comes to your blackness? I think that's important for us to ask. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what moniker you decide to crown yourself with, black conservative, black liberal, black Muslim, black Christian, the common thing in all of that is you're black. And if Donald Trump has his way, you'd be at the back of the bus. Then more importantly, though, how do you align yourself with the MAGA crowd, who are clearly bigots and racist? If you want to make the argument that Donald Trump is not a bigot and a racist, then you certainly can't make that argument when you look at some of the paraphernalia that some of his cohorts put out, some of the things that they say about black people. The other argument is that the Democrats has failed the black community. Can you point to anything in our history where Republicans have made black people better? Oh, that Lincoln thing. You did hear the black fact, right? Is that the only thing? So since Reconstruction, after the death of Lincoln, wasn't it Republicans who allowed the Freedmen's Bureau to be overrun and looted? Wasn't it Republicans who decided that they would not prosecute any of the Civil War crimes that were perpetrated against the Union? Wasn't that Republicans? So I'm perplexed. I try to understand everybody's point of view. And that thing called, that name, that adjective, black, keeps popping up. Because, see, if you're walking down the street, you see, I live in the DMV area. And if you're walking down the street and you might identify as a black conservative, but that white restaurant owner still may not want you to come in because of the color of your skin. Are you then going, what are you going to do, flash a card and say, look, I'm a black conservative? The point is, it doesn't matter, because your label that you identify with is always led with your blackness or led by your blackness. Because they see your blackness before you even say or open your mouth to tell them that you are a conservative. So I'm a little confused with this Pied Piper mentality that you all have succumbed to as it relates to this charlatan, because this guy is a charlatan. Nobody's after Donald Trump. Look, if any of you conservatives did some of the things that he's been accused of and convicted of, your asses would have been in jail a long time ago. So why did you feel like it's okay for him to thwart the law? Why is he your hero? It makes no sense at all. This argument that he helped HBCUs. No, he didn't. He was about to cut $1.9 billion out of the Pell Grant funding. How do you think that would have affected HBCUs, you dumbasses? Y'all are so damn smart, you're stupid. You're educated fools. And I don't care if you get mad at me. Tell me where the economy was better under Trump. If you do the math and if you study history, his GDP was worse than Nixon's. Hello? Oh, spin, right? That old saying, if you lie enough, if you tell that lie long enough, people will begin to believe it. So you all are believing it. But I love the argument. I love the argument that he would treat you better than Joe Biden. Look, be clear. I am not a Democrat. I am not a Republican. I'm an independent. But here's what I'm not going to allow anyone to do. And trust me, Joe Biden has his warts. But one thing I'm not going to allow you to do is call me a slave and then treat me like one. And then, or the old saying, piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. Because that's what Donald Trump is doing to black people. I even heard this guy, Charleston Smith or whatever he is, this rapper he runs his mouth more than anybody else. Oh, I mess with Trump. We mess with Trump. Why? Why? I want you to hear it. I want you to hear this. Just hang on a minute. I want you all to hear this because it's mind-boggling to me. This is just a portion of his speech that he did at this black conservative federation or whatever it's called. Check this out.
These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones. You see? That's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. But I got indicted for nothing, for something that is nothing. They were doing it because it's election interference. And then I got indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against. It's been pretty amazing, but it possibly, I don't know, maybe there's something there. Black conservatives understand better than most that some of the greatest evils in our nation's history have come from corrupt systems that try to target and subjugate others to deny them their freedom and to deny them their rights. You understand that? I think that's why the black people are so much on my side now, because they see what's happening to me happens to them. Does that make sense? The mugshot, we've all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. It's incredible. You see black people walking around with my mugshot. You know, they do shirts and they sell them for $19 a piece. It's pretty amazing. Millions, by the way, millions of these things have been sold. So I don't know if I'm proud of it or not proud of it, but...
Now you call yourself educated. That was Donald Trump. You all call yourself educated. He doesn't even recognize you as a person. He called you the black people. Them over there. And the laughter that you heard in that piece were black people. Hello? What are we doing here? What's going on here that you all are so lost? You know, it's okay to be one way or the other, but, you know, at some point, we have to always come together on common ground. We have to be able to agree that there are certain things you cannot do or say to and about black people if you want our vote. You see, and the fascinating thing about it, by the way, he has shoes too. He says that, let's break it down. He says black people are following him because of his mugshot. So he's saying that y'all are criminals, so we all relate to one another. Your people are criminals, so y'all relate to me. I relate to you. Huh? And y'all in there, gee hee hee. Really? This man is dangerous. And all of you educated black folks don't understand it. I'll make the argument for you. Neither one of the parties has done right by black people, because if you want to do right by black people, the first thing you should do is give us reparations. That's number one. Number two, you need to get rid of redlining. You need to get rid of gerrymandering. You need to get rid of voter suppression. All of those things have to go. And that's not a Democrat or a Republican thing. That's an American thing. You all understand that, right? But you all are so enthralled about Donald Trump. This guy doesn't give a damn about anybody, let alone black people. He's proven that to you. And he's trying to play he's a victim. I am amazed how you so-called black Christians can follow you. Now, here's the thing. See, they're using reverse psychology on you here. Because if you remember, they said that there were a lot of black people that was going to vote for him in the last election. He only got 8%. He only got 8%. So yeah, they want to try to speak it into existence because they understand and know how important it is to try to peel off some of Joe Biden's support. Now, Joe Biden is doing a good job of that himself with this Gaza thing. But here's what I tell people. And I don't like using the phrase, the lesser of two evils, because either way, evil is evil. Democrats and Republicans. But when you really think about what this man is talking about he wants to do, why would anyone want him back in office? I know a lot of black people say, well, we need someone to disrupt this country. Okay, I agree. But here's the thing. To what end? And what will that disruption cause? No matter what you all think, the numbers bear it out, the facts bear it out, that Donald Trump did nothing for the black community. It's all a lie. And no matter how you all try to push it, no matter how much y'all try to say it, let me say it again. He did nothing for the black community. And then he turned around and tried to disenfranchise over 80 million people, the majority of them who were black, because he lost an election. And then he went on to try to personally character assassinate 2 black women. This is the guy you want. What do you say to them? No, don't give me an otherism. Well, the Democrats, no, let's talk about the individual. The individual who lost an election, a fair election, that was judged fair by nearly 62 judges, who the majority of whom were Republican. Let's talk about that man who tried to steal the election, disenfranchise 8 million voters. The majority of them black. And here's the thing. Many of those races and areas that he said had voted in regularity, the majority of them were all black. But when the Republicans won in those same elections, well, those were legitimate.
Ladies, are you looking for high quality, natural products for your skin and soul? Skintentional is for you. We feature handcrafted, luxurious, natural baths and body care products. At Skintentional, we firmly believe that self-care should be an intentional and enjoyable experience. We strive to infuse every product with a sense of fun and purpose. Crafting each item with love and care, we take pride in selecting only the finest natural ingredients. From luscious shea butter to revitalizing essential oils, every element is carefully chosen to protect, restore, and enhance your skin's natural beauty. We provide skincare specifically with you in mind. Try our soaps, scrubs, and facial oils for children and adults. Skintentional has something for the whole family, including the man in your life. Self-care should be an intentional and joyous experience for all. Go to skintentional.com right now for great discounts and begin experiencing what skincare products should be.
Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RearBrub.com. Holman's Dynamic Pepper Juice is lighting fires around the country. It's the new product from RearBrub.com. Use it on meats and vegetables. Add it to your gumbos and greens for an extra punch. Made with all natural ingredients, Coleman's Dynamic Pepper Juice will enhance the flavors of your favorite recipes. Order today on RearBrub.com. And while there, be sure to check out some of our other great products. It's developed with love and care using the best all-natural ingredients with no GMOs or preservatives. From snacks to seasonings, Coleman's Dynamic Products has something for everyone. Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RearBrub.com.
LeBron James is the greatest player we've seen this generation. You have to be careful when you start saying, and so, well, he wasn't as good as Michael, or he wasn't as good as Magic. Every generation you get that. You begin to sound like that old man that lives down the street, and every time you walk on his yard or you even walk by his yard, he's on the porch and he's got that little crooked finger. He's like, "Get off my lawn! Get off my lawn!" Join me Saturday mornings at 8 for the weekly sports magazine on joinetradio.com. Get off my lawn!
All right, welcome back to the show, Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you want to join the show. We're talking about Donald Trump and black conservatives. By the way, let me read to you this statement that these black conservatives put out in defense of Donald Trump, their dear leader. Okay, let's see, here it is. It says, Black Americans are waking up to the reality that the Democratic Party has taken advantage of them, and the media and the party are terrified. Our community supports the policies of Donald J. Trump and knows full well that life was better 4 years ago under his administration. No amount of media deception or liberal race baiting will sway the minds of black voters. Will cast their ballots this November for safer streets, a better financial well-being, a secure border, and a complete rejection of Joe Biden's disastrous tenure. That was Deontay Johnson, president of the Black Conservative Federation. Okay, let's do a quick Google thing. Okay. Let's see, were black people better off under Trump? That's something simple. I tell you all the time, Google is a wonderful tool. It's a wonderful tool. And I'm not biased. I'm just going to, let's see here. I'm just going to pick one. Let's see. We can do the Washington Post. I will tell you that I don't have an account for the Washington Post, so they may not let me read this article. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, it's giving us some. Let's see. Okay. So let's start with this. Let me remind you who Donald Trump is. Okay? Let's remind you of that, because when a bird is a bird. If you tell me that the Democratic Party hadn't changed, I can tell you that Donald Trump hadn't changed. 1973. Well, I'll tell you what. I said, do we have enough time to do this? Yeah. 1973, the U.S. Department of Justice, under the Nixon administration, out of all administrations, sued the Trump Management Corporation for violating the Fair Housing Act. Federal officials found evidence that Trump had refused to rent to black tenants and lied to black applicants about whether apartments were available, among other accusations. Trump said the federal government was trying to get him to rent to welfare recipients. In the aftermath, he signed an agreement in 1975 agreeing not to discriminate to renters of color without admitting to previous discrimination. In the 1980s, Kip Brown, a former employee at Trump Castle, accused another one of Trump's businesses of discrimination. When Donald and Ivana came to the casino, the bosses would order all the black people off the floor. It was the 80s. I was a teenager, but I remember it. They put us all in the back. In 1989, in a controversial case that has been characterized as a modern-day lynching, 4 black teenagers and 1 Latino teenager, the Central Park Five, were accused of attacking and raping a jogger in New York City. Trump immediately took charge in the case, running an ad in the paper. You remember that ad? Y'all, some of y'all are too young to remember that. I remember the ad because I read the ad. Bring back the death penalty. Bring back our police. The teens' convictions were later vacated after they spent 7 to 13 years in prison, and the city paid $41 million in a settlement to the teens. But Trump in October 2016 said he still believes they're guilty, despite the DNA evidence to the contrary. This your boy, Black Conservative Federation. Do y'all believe the Central Park Five is innocent? 1991, a book by John O'Donnell, former president of the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, quoted Trump's criticism of a black accountant. Black guys counting my money, I hate it. The only kind of people I want counting my money are short guys who wear yarmulkes every day. I think that guy is lazy, and it's probably not his fault, because laziness is a trait of blacks. It really is. I believe that. It's not everything. It's not anything they can do to control me. Trump later said in the 1997 Playboy interview that the stuff O'Donnell wrote about me is probably true. I'm waiting on y'all black conservatives. I got more. I'm not going to, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to finish them up on the other side of the album. We're going to keep this train rolling, because I'm trying to figure out why y'all run this clearly racist. It doesn't make any sense. Look,
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
All right, welcome back to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. This is the second hour of the show. We started off talking about the Black Conservative Federation. In fact, this must be a secret organization because this is the first time I'd even heard of them. I wish they would have panned the audience because I wonder how many people were really there. Okay. I know Byron Donald had his butt cooped up in there somewhere. I'm wondering, was Ben Carson there, by the way? This is a group that Donald Trump spoke to over the weekend, and he just went pure racist. Yeah, him. So I was reading about Donald Trump's history, because you can only judge a man from his history. Now, certainly people can change. People do change. But how long does it take you to change? And by now, this man is what, 76? And he's still being a racist. I played you a clip from his speech at the Black Conservative Confederation, Gala, whatever they called it. And he was just as racist as ever. So we know he hasn't changed at all. And he's not going to change at all. Okay? It's just not going to happen. We know that now. It's pretty obvious. So my question was, last hour, is how can you as a black person, forget your label, just you as a black person, how could you support a bigot? How could you? I'm asking for a friend because I'm a little confused about all of it. It makes no sense. So you said, whoa, he wasn't racist. So I decided to go back and pull up some information about his racism. Thought that was important. Okay? I thought it was important. Because it's important that we know the facts. I know a lot of us don't like facts. We want people to tell us that stuff to make us feel good. That's kind of why a lot of y'all go to church. Because y'all go to church to feel good. You don't even care about the facts of what that preacher is saying. That's why a lot of y'all send him y'all money. Joel Osteen and all them guys. Because it makes you feel good. They're selling you something. They're selling you feel-good sauce. So maybe Donald Trump makes you feel good. But see, here's the thing. While they are taking your money, they're selling you that feel-good sauce, they're taking your money. All of these people are spending money and sending money to Donald Trump for his legal bills. But y'all are stupid. Yeah, I said it. You're stupid. At one point they had documented that this man had lied to the American people over 6,000 times. Documented lies. There was obvious lies. He even had a press secretary who admitted under oath that she lied to the American people, who's now the governor of Arkansas. Wow, just shaking my head. It's amazing to me. But I want to talk a little bit about, because you don't think he's a racist, and then I'm going to go through what he claims that he has done for the black community. Okay? We're going to dispel some myths today. Remember Bird Cole and Spider Spit? They just popped into my head. But let's go ahead and go back to that list that we were talking about. Okay. In 1992, we're just at 92. The Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino had to pay $200,000 in fines because it transferred black and women dealers off tables to accommodate a big-time gambler's prejudices. In other words, big guy comes in with money, he don't want black dealers, and he don't want women. $200,000 fine. You don't do these things, if you don't believe in these tenets, then you're not paying $200,000. In 1993, in a congressional testimony, Trump said that some Native American reservations operating casinos should not be allowed because they don't look like Indians to me. He's an equal opportunity racist. In 2000, in opposition to a casino proposed by the St. Regis Mohawk tribe, which he saw as a financial threat to his casinos in Atlantic City, Trump secretly ran a series of ads suggesting the tribe had a record of criminal activity that is well documented. This your boy, Donald J. In 2004, in season 2 of The Apprentice, Trump fired Kevin Allen, a black contestant, for being overeducated. You're an unbelievably talented guy in terms of education, and you haven't done anything wrong, Trump said on the show. At some point, you have to say, that's enough. In other words, he was a smart nigga. He's too smart. But it was his show. That was just Hollywood, and okay. 2005, we're still chugging along. Trump publicly pitched what was essentially The Apprentice: white people versus black people. He said he wasn't particularly happy with the most recent season of his show, so he was considering an idea that is fairly controversial, creating a team of successful African Americans versus a team of successful whites. Whether people like that idea or not, it is somewhat reflective of our vicious world. So I'm assuming that if these teams would have been created, then the white teams would have gotten advantages. It's kind of like Monopoly. The next time you talk to a black conservative, do this. Before they come over, say, hey man, we're going to have a game night. Let's play some Monopoly. Let's play some Monopoly. And we're going to change the rules. And the rule change is that because your political persuasion, you will not start with $200. Everybody else will. If you've everybody and their mama has played Monopoly, so at some point at the beginning of the game, you choose your pieces, and then everybody is given $200, and you have to maneuver through the board and make money, pay rent, all of that stuff, buy property in order to be successful. But what I want you to do is give that black conservative, don't give that black conservative one dime. Or better still, let's give him 40 acres and a mule. In other words, give him $40. Let's see how it works. So if Trump was trying to have this on The Apprentice, then I'm assuming that the white team would have gotten advantages over the black team. In fact, as I sit here and I think about it, I think it would have been a great piece to expose not just Trump, but what America stands for, and why black people have to scrap, and save to try to make ends meet. It would have proven to white people that, yes, you do have an advantage. I've seen, I saw Dr. Joy DeGruy ask a group of white people that she was talking to, given all you know about what black people have been through and what they currently go through today. And she was talking to a white audience, a predominantly white audience. Given all you know about black people and what they've had to go through history, what they deal with every day, the bigotry and the racism, all of those things, raise your hand if you would like to swap places with black people. Okay? And guess what? Not a one person in that room raised their hand. The great Jane Elliott did the same thing, asked a similar question of a white audience. Not one of them raised their hand. You know why? Because they understand clear and simple the racism that black people experience on a regular basis. But y'all black conservatives, y'all think you all will be missed by the racism ghost when you all don't realize that you're riding shotgun for them. Where am I? 2005. Let's go to 2010. In 2010, there was a huge national controversy over the Ground Zero Mosque, a proposal to build a Muslim community center in Lower Manhattan near the site of 9/11 attacks. Trump opposed the project, calling it insensitive, and offered to buy out one of the investors in the project. On Late Night with David Letterman, Trump argued, referring to Muslims, well, somebody's blowing us up. Somebody's blowing up buildings, and somebody's doing lots of bad stuff. 2011, Trump played a big role in pushing false rumors about Obama, the country's first black president. You all know these rumors. He was not born in the U.S. He claimed to send investigators to Hawaii to look into Obama's birth certificate. Y'all remember that? Whatever happened to those investigators? Okay? Did we ever find anybody to prove that Obama was not born in America? But I know you black conservatives, y'all wanted to know too. Because, see, y'all got a problem with him because he wasn't really black. He had a white mama. So no, he ain't really black. Oh, you forgot about the one drop rule. Obama later released his birth certificate, calling Trump a carnival barker. The research has found a strong correlation between birtherism, as the conspiracy theory is called, and racism. But Trump has reportedly continued pushing this conspiracy theory in private. This your boy. See, at the end of the day, it don't matter whether or not Obama was a Democrat. He was being racist to this guy. Look, I'll tell you in a minute, I'm not a big Obama fan either. I know y'all love him. I understand the love for Obama because he was the first black president, all that stuff. But Obama really didn't do shit for the black community. He did shit for everybody else. You know, one of the things you can thank, I'm sorry, I just realized I cussed. I apologize. You know what you can thank Obama for? Is the rise of the LGBTQ community. Don't get mad, I'm just being real. Sorry, I'm on my soapbox right now. I'm about to beep out those bad words. We got one more, 2011. While Trump suggested that Obama wasn't born in the U.S., he also argued that maybe Obama wasn't a good enough student to have gotten into Columbia or Harvard Law School, and demanded Obama release his university transcripts. Trump claimed, I heard he was a terrible student. Terrible. How does a bad student go to Columbia and then to Harvard? It goes on, man. During this campaign, calling Mexican immigrants rapists who were bringing crime and bringing drugs in the U.S. As a candidate in 2015, he called for a ban on all Muslims. Of course, he called them, some of these countries S-hole countries. It just goes on. He stereotyped a black reporter at a press conference in February 2017 when April Ryan asked him if he plans to meet and work with the Congressional Black Caucus. He repeatedly asked her to set up the meeting, even as she insisted that she's just a reporter. Let's not forget about Charlottesville and the white racists who he supported. I mean, this is a complete list. By the way, I'm going to post this on my wall for you black conservatives. Because I know Trump's not a racist. I know he isn't. And I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. Okay? This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I don't know what to say about this, man. So here's my point. And I guess we're going to try to wrap this up. Here's my point. I can understand that you're upset with the Democratic Party. But what you really should be upset with is the entire political system. That's what you really should be upset with. Okay? When we come back, I'm going to fact check Trump again. What did he really do for the black community? We hear this all the time. We hear black conservatives talking about it. But I'm going to fact check him again. Because it's time out for the okie doke. I agree with you. We've been played by both parties. It's just not, for you to say, well, the Democratic Party, they ain't did nothing for black folks. Well, the Republican Party hadn't either. The Southern strategy came out of the Republican Party, began with Nixon. Reagan used it. So if we're gonna take that logic or that question to its logical conclusion, or that statement, I should say, to its logical conclusion, then the conclusion is that neither of these parties have done anything. And more importantly, if you want to stick to the argument that Lincoln freed the slaves, what happened after that? And even more so, what happened in the 60s? What made the Dixiecrats, who were nothing more than Democrats, who were part of the lynching mob, the lynch mobs in the South, the racist and the bigots and the KKK and the skinheads in the South, what made them turn Republican? Do you think they became Republican because they were going to help black folks? If you say that, Black Conservative Federation, have you did the research? Have you? What made them join the Republican Party? And are you okay with square dancing with the KKK? People who would rather hang you, lynch you, and set you afire than to be your friend. Oh yeah, they'll invite you over to the barbecue. Just make sure that you bring your own woman. This is some serious stuff, brothers and sisters. And it's time for us to start calling out these black conservatives. Look, if you're for, and right now, I can't even say what a conservative is. I can't tell you what a liberal is, because if you ask 10 people on either side of that coin, they're going to give you 10 different answers. That's why it's so stupid. But here's what I know. Regardless of your persuasion, I'm not going to support anyone who does not accept me for who I am as a black person. It's just not going to happen. And you shouldn't support them either. This is ridiculous. I don't know what to tell you folks. But when we come back, we're gonna do something. I'm destroying a myth today, and unfortunately, it looks like it's gonna take the whole show to do this, but I gotta do it. It's time for us to do this. Because that Black Conservative Federation really got under my skin with that statement. Democrats or Republicans, neither have clean hands. Neither. So, but for you to, look, if I'm going to support a candidate that you, the BCF supports, then he's certainly not going to be a bigot. He's certainly not going to be a racist. He's certainly not going to be a 91 indicted potential felon. He's not going to be a civilly charged and failed candidate. It's not going to work for me. And it shouldn't work for you. We'll take a break. When we come back, let's see if it's true that Donald Trump really did something for black people. Okay? You're listening to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. On joinetradio.com.
Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RearBrub.com. Holman's Dynamic Pepper Juice is lighting fires around the country. It's the new product from RearBrub.com. Use it on meats and vegetables. Add it to your gumbos and greens for an extra punch. Made with all natural ingredients, Coleman's Dynamic Pepper Juice will enhance the flavors of your favorite recipes. Order today on RearBrub.com. And while there, be sure to check out some of our other great products. It's developed with love and care using the best all-natural ingredients with no GMOs or preservatives. From snacks to seasonings, Coleman's Dynamic Products has something for everyone. Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RearBrub.com.
Hey, beautiful. You look gorgeous. Are you doing something different? There's a healthy glow about you.
Thanks. I'm just my natural self.
Come on. What's your secret?
Okay. Since I found SkinTentional.com, I've been getting a lot of those comments.
SkinTentional.com?
Yes. SkinTentional.com is handcrafted, luxurious natural baths and body care products. Crafted for those with a designer's taste for high-quality skincare products but won't break your bank. From body butter to oils and soaps, SkinTentional has something for everyone, including the man in your life. Get your man some beard balm and oils. And yes, they offer body butters and soap for him as well, without making him smell like flowers. Go to SkinTentional.com and check out their amazing products. They believe self-care should be an intentional and joyous experience for all. SkinTentional.com.
Pigskin, check. Round ball, check. Hard ball, check. Hockey puck, check. Burning rubber, check. We got it all on the weekly sports page with David Coleman. What else do you need? Did I say food? Can't have sports without food. What kind of show is this again?
A sports show.
Oh, okay. Pass me those rib nuts.
Yeah, we do have it all and a whole lot more with me, Dynamic David Coleman, on the weekly sports magazine.
Welcome back to the show, Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. If you'd like to join the show, I'd love to have you. Don't forget Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and the podcast. Go out to your favorite podcast platform and just download it, like, share, and make sure you subscribe every chance you get. We're spending a lot of time today on this issue of Donald Trump and black conservatives. Look, by the way, if you're a black conservative out there and you'd like to come on Black Focus Radio and discuss this, please do. I'd love to have you. I really would. You see, they don't go on shows that are opposed to them because, see, they don't want to be fact-checked. You know, facts are a dangerous thing. They'll go on their little talk shows and espouse their beliefs, but they don't want to talk facts. And here's what happens. They hear something, and then they just run with it. They just run with it. So this is according to Politico. Trump says he's the best president for African Americans. Is it true? Okay. Is it true? Remember the platinum plan, by the way? Whatever happened to the platinum plan? Okay, where's the platinum plan? Y'all remember that? What's his name? Ice-T or Ice Cube or who were them people? 50 Cent. What happened to that? And y'all just let them get away with it. Okay? Y'all remember that? Oh, here's a look at what the White House has actually done in key policy areas. Okay, here it is. Trump says, this is for criminal justice reform. The morning in Philadelphia, let's see. Trump, a white man, said, in Biden's America, we'll all be in danger. Okay. Trump won just 8% of the black voters in 2016 and has talked about criminals and criminal justice in the closing days of his campaign. He did, however, sign the bipartisan First Step Act and granted 28 pardons and 16 sentence commutes. Former Obama tapped 2 black attorney generals to serve in his administration, Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch, and he used his executive authority to create a task force on 21st century policing and granted clemency to more than 1,900 people. The highest figure since Harry Truman. Wait a minute. Trump granted, I guess you could say, 44 pardons? Obama granted 1,900. Trump advisors thought the president's support of the First Step Act would help him win re-election down the road. Black voters are looking for a comprehensive agenda that will get at structural barriers blocking black mobility in this country. Okay? Black unemployment. Under the Trump administration, black unemployment rate steadily improved, dropping to 5.4% at its bottom in 2019 compared to 7.5% when Trump took office in 2017. But the achievement is attributable to economic growth that was already revving when Trump took office. Okay? Let's see here. What is black unemployment today? So, Google is a wonderful tool, girls and boys. Black unemployment today. I'm just curious. Because in January of 2024, according to the Federal Economic Research, black unemployment, I just saw the stats, I'm looking for it. As of January 2024, is 5.3. Oh no. But y'all said that he's done more for black people than anybody else. Oh. HBCU funding. In January, Trump baffled HBCU leaders when he claimed he saved their institutions by signing bipartisan legislation that included annual funding for historically black colleges and universities. Now, before I move on, there are a whole lot of black conservatives who like to use this argument. All right? And neither one of them have never been to a damn black college. And neither one of them would really send their kids to a black college. You know what y'all need to start doing? Is that when they get on there and start espousing that, ask them, by the way, I was reading your bio. You graduated from where? And by the way, does any of your kids go to an HBCU? Other than Grambling, Tennessee State, and Florida A&M, can you name a black college? All right. The bill is a 10-year renewal of funding. During Obama's 8 years in office, mandatory HBCU funding ranged from $80 million to $85 million per year. The same has been true during the Trump administration. So wait a minute. Are you telling me that Donald Trump signed the same bill that President Obama signed into legislation? That kind of blows your little argument up about him supporting HBCUs. He only did what all the other presidents had done. Okay. He started in January saying he saved HBCUs. People were shocked. Now I know, and this was Dr. Walter Kimbrough. I know Dr. Kimbrough. He was at the president of Dillard University at one point. Okay. The same thing that we had under Obama. That's what he said. It's the same thing. 17% of students with bachelor degrees earned them from HBCUs, which are more reliant on government funding and have smaller endowments than predominantly white universities. Even after Trump signed the legislation, Michael Lomax, president and CEO of the United Negro College Fund, warned that HBCUs are woefully underfunded at an annual rate of HBCUs of the HBCU address in March. He's pushing for a $1 billion grant for HBCU infrastructure, a doubling of Pell Grants, and a tripling of Title III funding in the future acts. So, black conservatives. So if you really believe that, then what you should be saying, ask Trump, what are you going to do for HBCUs next? Don't give him an answer. Because you ought to double the Title III funding. I worked at an HBCU, and I know how instrumental Title III funds were for us to be able to refurbish the entire campus with computers. I did that myself. I mean, I didn't do it myself, but I wrote the plan, I ordered the computers, I got them set up, servers, all of that stuff is important. It's very important. Okay? Okay, the other thing. Opportunity zones. Mike Pence credited the president for opportunity zones. 8,000 opportunity zones, bringing jobs and opportunities to inner city families. Now, if you don't know what it is, opportunity zone is there are tax incentives to encourage those with capital gains to invest in low income or undercapitalized communities. In other words, if you go to most black communities, there ain't a grocery store within 10 miles. They've divested from black communities. That's why many of them are run down. Black conservatives, what are y'all doing about that? Okay. A feature of the president's $1.5 trillion tax cuts. The program was intended to benefit black and low-income communities, but there's very little data about the actual happening of the opportunity zones. There isn't a full accounting of the number of opportunity zone projects, let alone basic information such as what those projects are, why they're being pursued, and who's benefiting. A June Urban Institute report found that although there are compelling examples of community benefit, the Opportunity Zone incentive as a whole is not living up to its economic and community development goals. Hello? There's more on housing. It just goes on and on. But again, here's what we're asking here. Can you point to any solid evidence of what Trump did for black people? I'll wait. Well, I'm not going to wait too long because I'll starve to death. Because there isn't any. You're being catfished. And it's amazing to me that all of you all are so damn smart that you know so earthly good. You know earthly good. You're just mad. You're upset. And you think that by supporting a Donald Trump that things will get better. If you want, it's kind of like having that person to just lug you up. That's what we used to call it back in the day. Oh, girl, you're so beautiful. Oh, you're so gorgeous. But you got boogers hanging out your nose. Your hair nappy. You got lint in your hair. Your pants aren't ironed. Your clothes aren't ironed. Your breath stank. But no matter what your friends say, oh, you're so beautiful. That's what Trump is doing. He's lugging y'all up. He's capping, as the young people say today. And y'all buying it hook, line, and sinker. This guy does not care about the black community, and he doesn't care about you. He only cares about himself. Period. He only cares about himself. That's why he's taking over the RNC. You know, he took over the RNC with his daughter-in-law, and they were talking about that the RNC is going to pay his legal bills. And then when people started pushing back on it, even some of the Republicans said, whoa, wait a minute, Donald. There are many Republicans. Part of the reason Nikki Haley is staying in the race is because she's hoping that he's going to be convicted. But it's fascinating to me how these judges, these conservative judges, are slow-walking these cases. I just want to ask the question. I just want y'all to tell me. Can you give me anything solid why you are a conservative? First of all, I'm going to ask you one question. What is a conservative? What is a black conservative? Can you tell me anything that the Republican Party has done for black people? Let's hold them to the same standard that you're holding the Democratic Party. You say the Democrats haven't done anything for black people. Okay. What has the Republicans done? Remember Willie Horton? Do y'all remember the Southern strategy? Part of the reason that we're so divided right now is because of the Southern strategy and the Reagan and Nixon administrations. They purposely divided us. If you understood history, then you'd know that part of the reason Dr. King was killed, many people believe it was the main reason, was because what? He was going to unite black and white poor people. Because with that, that's a major push. I asked the question earlier. Can you name one rich white man who really gives a damn about poor black people and white people? There may be one or two. But at the end of the day, there are 71% of the people in Congress are millionaires. Did y'all know that? And I think the number is just in society as a whole in America, the number is like 5 to 7%. You get this, right? 71% of the people that are in Congress who make our laws are millionaires. Now you understand taxes for the rich, tax breaks for the rich, right? Because they're rich and they're writing those laws to help themselves. They're not, and they're saying that you all are lazy. Pull yourself up by your own bootstrap. I can't help you. You got to help yourself. Did you hear what I said? 71%. You want to do? Can we got time to do how many people? How many millionaires are in Congress? How many? Why do you spend millions of dollars? Why do you spend millions of dollars to get a job that's only going to pay you $187,000 a year? Majority of lawmakers in the 116th Congress are millionaires. Okay? Just go to Open Secrets. Great website, by the way. Okay? So what I'm saying to you, these people don't give a damn about y'all, man. And you run around talking about you a black conservative. You what? Are you crazy? Yeah, you crazy. There's nothing that he's going to do for any of us. None whatsoever. All they're going to do is pad their own pockets. That's all they're going to do. You know, when they released the sneakers, this one guy says black voters will move to Donald Trump because black people love sneakers. I mean, why isn't that offensive to you that they think that we are so stupid that we could be moved by a pair of gold lame sneakers and spend $400 on them? I don't understand that. They think the worst of us. These are the people that you're supporting. And you got to start asking them these questions, because see, quite often what they do is when you start throwing these questions out at them, they'll try to change the subject. Okay? They'll try to change the subject. This is what I'm saying. It is important for us to understand that we have got to do a better job in picking who our leaders are. And just because someone makes money, see, we're caught up in this, you know, some of these rappers, just because they make money, now they try to have a podcast and try to be philosophical when they cause so much death and destruction in our communities. And because they got money, you want to believe them, as opposed to actually fact checking them. And as I've said over and over again, fact checking today is easier than it has been in a long time. I'm looking to see, I thought I posted this graph online. I thought I did, but maybe I didn't, because I wanted to get to this post where it showed the breakdown of Congress, because there is nothing that they're going to do for you. Look, if they were going to do it, they'd have done it a long time ago. That's your tax dollars that you've sent them to Washington to govern. But they won't, and they don't, because they don't care about you. But they'll pit you against one another. At the end of the day, the abortion issue is not really a big deal. I know some of y'all think it is. You know what the biggest deal is? Is who actually is in office, whether they are Republican or Democrat. Who's going to uphold and stand by the Constitution of the United States? That's the big deal to me. May not be to you, but it is to me. And we've got to start asking those questions. We've got to start asking those questions. So, again, I didn't mean to spend literally the entire show on this black conservative crap. but I think I needed to. Because there is nothing you can tell me that the Republican Party in its current form is beneficial to black people. I'm open to listen. Call me 615-554-0568. Send me an email at blackfocusradio@gmail.com. I'll respond. But I want you on the show. There is nothing you can tell me that Donald Trump has done for our community. I went through an entire list of racist behavior that he's exhibited. Can you tell me one positive thing he's done for black folks? Can you? I'm just asking because y'all are wedded to this guy. We're going to take a break. When we come back is what we must do. You're listening to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joinetradio.com.
Hey, beautiful. You look gorgeous. Are you doing something different? There's a healthy glow about you.
Thanks. I'm just my natural self.
Come on. What's your secret?
Okay. Since I found skintentional.com, I've been getting a lot of those comments.
Skintentional.com?
Yes. Skintentional.com is handcrafted, luxurious natural baths and body care products. Crafted for those with a designer's taste for high-quality skincare products, but won't break your bank. From body butter to oils and soaps, Skintentional has something for everyone, including the man in your life. Get your man some beard balm and oils, and yes, they offer body butters and soap for him as well, without making him smell like flowers. Go to skintentional.com and check out their amazing products. They believe self-care should be an intentional and joyous experience for all. Skintentional.com.
Business owner, can I talk to you for a moment? How many people have come up to you and said, hey, I didn't know you had a business? Yeah, that can happen when you don't advertise. I have a solution for you. Advertise on joinetradio.com and let the world know that you're in business. I know what you're thinking. Advertising is so expensive. I've got a great package for you that will cut your expense and increase your bottom line. It's only $125 for startup and new businesses. Call me, David W. Coleman, at 615-554-0568, and I'll put together a package specifically for your business. Now is the time to tell the world, hey, I'm in business. Come spend your money on quality goods in my store. Let us help you at joinetradio.com. Here's the number. Call me, 615-554-0568. We are here to assist you in building your brand. Coleman's Dynamic Products would like to thank you for all the support you've given us over the years. Our growth could not have happened without your purchases and word of mouth to your friends and family. That says you believe and trust us to provide Coleman's Dynamic Products with no fillers and all natural ingredients. We began with our flagship product, Rib Rub, and now it has expanded into snacks, seasonings, salts, rib juice, and pepper juice. We could not have done it without you. I'm David W. Coleman, founder and president, and I want to personally thank you for the encouraging words and support. Coleman's Dynamic Products will continue to be the best dry marinades, seasonings, and sauces you've ever put in your mouth. That's ribrub.com, RIBBRUBB, and you know what we like to say, bake it, grill it, smoke it, oh yeah.
All right, welcome back to the show. This segment is what we must do. I've spent the entire show talking about not the upcoming election, but being able to see racism in its true form. And what we're seeing is its true form. It's out in the public. It used to hide, but now it's everywhere. White people don't care about being racist. Beyonce got a #1 song, and what did the guy from John Snyder say? Talking about, just really just dogged the song. Okay, she compared it to P or something. But I want to read you this quote because I think it's important. And we have to understand that if we're going to change, sure, we need that speech that Donald Trump made was suggesting that black people are a monolith. I think one thing that offends black people more than anything else is that we try to go out of our way to be different. I think to some extent that's good, but I think it also hurts us because we forget our commonalities. Okay? We forget those. And if we're going to be successful, if we're going to move the body politic, that the black body politic forward, then we've got to settle on some tenets. Some of them are conservative, some of them are liberal, but they all must be settled upon together. Okay? That's the only way. James Baldwin once said, we can disagree and still love one another unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. And at the end of the day, that's what the Republican Party stands for today. So we cannot still love each other because your disagreement with me is rooted in my denial of humanity. Donald Trump proved that this past weekend, the way he spoke to those black conservatives. He proved that by calling them the black. He was basically saying, you people, the blacks. He couldn't even say black people. It's unbelievable. And what we must do is make a statement. It's getting to a point, I've said over and over again, I don't really have any conservative friends anymore because of this quote. Let me read it again for you. I used to have friends from all spectrums. Let me read the quote again for you. It says, we can disagree and still love each other. Yes, we can. Unless, this is the qualifier, your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. Okay? You don't like me because of who I am. That's the problem. That's what we're running into here. And you as a black conservative, you don't have anything to say here, bro. What can you say? Because at the end of the day, if this party has its way, you'll be running back to Massa, running back from the big house, saying Massa done did me wrong, and your feelings will be hurt. That's the trip about this. And if we're going to change our disposition, number one, we've got to vote. More so than any other time. Don't believe these people just because you listen to their music. Don't believe them and think that the Republican Party has something good for you. You've got to get out and vote. Yeah, you've got to be upset with Biden about what's going on in Gaza and the Palestinians. That blood is on our hands. But this is how you make things happen. Because he's even saying now that, we're going to have a ceasefire. Michigan is proving to him, because so many people are voting undecided in the Michigan primary, that is sending a message. This is how you send this message. Remember the story that I told you about in the state of Washington? Remember that, where the Republicans, because they didn't have a majority and there were bills that would come to the floor and they couldn't be voted on because there was not a quorum, because the Republican Party was absconding from the proceedings. So they passed a law Okay, a ballot measure, not in the legislature, but they used their knowledge of voting and passed a ballot measure and got 50% of the vote to put it on the ballot. That if you miss 10 sessions, you cannot run for re-election. They won. This is how you change things. You understand the law and you vote. It's just that simple. So when people tell you that nothing has changed, my vote doesn't count, it doesn't matter, they're lying to you. The key is they don't want you to vote, because a no vote, or I should say a non-vote, is basically giving them carte blanche to do whatever they want to do. It ain't about because your mama and your ancestor died for your right to vote. That's not even the case anymore. We have to change this. We have to make a decision here. We have to understand that if we're going to make a difference, then we have to vote, not just with our dollars, but with our ballots. And that's what we must do. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next time. It's called Black Focus Radio. Don't forget Instagram, YouTube, like and share, and subscribe. Facebook, download the podcast. And my invitation is open for any conservative who would like to come on the show. Later this week, Friday show, we're going to do a little different, and we're going to have a dear friend of mine who's an author on the show to talk about her new children's book. So she's got 3 children's books. So if you got some young people, I've already bought 3 of them for my granddaughter. So make sure you catch the show Friday as well. All right, we've got to get out of here. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on JoyNetRadio.com.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on JoyNetRadio.com.